Hello one, hello all, it's coming to the end of the year, which means you're either recovering from hangovers from Christmas, or you're about to recover from a hangover from New Year's. Other than that, it means it's time for my list of my top 10 favorite movies of 2018. And as always, as I say every year, as a disclaimer, I haven't seen every movie in the year, I never do. And this is not a review for the movies, I'm gonna give a quick synopsis as to why I chose it, but every movie on this list has a review by me. You can find it here on YouTube. Also this year, you might notice I cut back on the Awesome-tacular rating. That's because years prior, I started giving those things out and made it rain Awesome-taculars. And looking back a few times, admittedly, I'm like, I'd scale that back to buy it on Blu-ray. So I wanted to err on the side of caution this year. If I gave it Awesome-tacular, I wanted to mean it. And if I gave buy it on Blu-ray, who knows? At this point, maybe it's moved up to Awesome-tacular. Or maybe I put a buy it on Blu-ray above an Awesome-tacular, just to blow some minds. We shall find out today. Before we get started, we're gonna start with number 10, of course. Number 10 is the hardest number on a top 10 list, isn't it? Because number 10 is the number. It's the placement that tells people, whether you mean it this way or not, it says I'm good enough to be on the list, but I'm not better than the other movies on the list. But by implication, I'm better than everything that didn't make the list. I don't know, 10's just hard for me. And also keep in mind, these movies on this list are not my opinion. No, they are the top 10 technically perfect, nay, flawless movies of 2018, starting with number 10. Starting the list at number 10, we have Upgrade. I really hope you guys still recognize sarcasm when you see it, like when you saw it about 10 seconds ago. I've been doing this for a while. If you don't know the gist of my channel and my taste, well, welcome. This is kind of the embodiment of it. Upgrade was a new spin on the revenge tale. I really dug it. I feel like it was the better version of Venom. I'm a longtime fan of The Outer Limits and The Twilight Zone, and this reminded me of a feature-length film version of an episode of The Outer Limits of The Twilight Zone. I really dug that, and I dug Upgrade. Number 9. Coming in at number 9, we have Creed 2. I feel like there are two kinds of people in the world. People who prefer Rocky 2 to Rocky 1, and people who prefer Rocky 1 to Rocky 2. Maybe the same thing goes for Creed, I don't know. I feel like Creed 1 was a better film than Creed 2, but Creed 2 was a solid sequel. It was damn watchable. Everyone did a good job in the movie, and it's an interesting revenge tale, really. Revenge tale without the killing part. Well, actually, it started with a killing part, but still. I really love those Creed movies. They should stop at this point, though. No more Creed. Number 8. Next up, we have a movie that a lot of people were like, it's okay, it's pretty mediocre, and I was like, that was fucking awesome. Ralph Breaks the Internet, parentheses, WreckIt Ralph 2. This movie spoke to me. Maybe it's because what I do for a living. I love the continuation of Ralph and Vanellope's friendship and story, and this movie made digs on YouTube, the YouTube model, the online space in general. Things I see a lot of, and they're really frustrating, but I was like, I'm so glad they addressed that. If you want to know how to make it big on YouTube, this movie is not wrong. The video game element, which I love so much in the first WreckIt Ralph movie, kind of took a back seat in this movie to the main plot, and it didn't bother me. That's shocking to me. Number 7. Next, we have Searching. Searching was interesting. A movie basically filmed on Skype or a phone, little bit of Google Maps or Waze thrown in there. It's a missing persons movie told from the perspective that someone in that situation would really see it through. Maybe you're seeing it through the perspective of phones. Point is, this movie swung for the fences, trying something new. This was like the first time I ever saw a found footage movie where I was like, oh wow, that's interesting, that's new, it feels more real and alive. Because as opposed to, granted, the found footage genre has been pounded into the dirt, but this gave a new spin on that. I hope movies don't take this premise and do it over and over and over again, which they will if given the opportunity. It was one of those movies I told people, I'm like, you totally need to see this movie. There's no way it was missing my top 10. Number 6. Next up, we have Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse wasn't my real introduction to Miles Morales. That was actually the PS4 game very recently. When I played it, I was like, oh wow, I'm interested in this kid. I didn't know much about him, but yeah, give me more. Into the Spiderverse was more. And I walked out of that movie going, what have I been missing? Why haven't I known more about Miles Morales? I want to read more of his comic books now. This was a pure Spider-Man adventure, and I love the fact that they incorporated the Spiderverse. I feel like you're never gonna see that in a live action movie. I don't know why. Oh, look at that. Animated Spider-Man is a really legit way to do Spider-Man. Kind of threw back to the 90s animation I really dug when they had Spider-Verse. Good news is, me being relatively new to Miles Morales' story and life, anything that people are like, oh, I know what's coming, I didn't see coming. If you're a Spider-Man fan, even if you don't know or care about Miles Morales, give him a shot. You will be hooked. Number 5. Avengers Infinity War was an experience. It was the culmination of the past 10 years of the MCU. I've been along for that entire ride. The first time I saw Iron Man, I was like, that was way better than it probably should have been. And after a 10-year cinematic build, the likes of which we have never seen before in our lifetime, and even before your lifetime, cinematic history itself, it's never had anything like the MCU building up to Avengers Infinity War. And I thought it was some great payoff. Granted, we still have Avengers Endgame. I'm not discounting that as what would be the final chapter. And even after that, they're gonna have more Spiderverse, so even final chapter doesn't mean final chapter. Point is, it was building up to Thanos. Thanos came, saw, conquered, owned the screen. There were other movies that might have hit me more emotionally, and we'll talk about them in a second. But for now, Avengers Infinity War. It built up to this, it led to this, and we had payoff with this. And for me, the movie was even better the second time I saw it, because the things that I was maybe expecting, maybe the things I didn't buy the first time, you let slide to just enjoy the ride. And I enjoyed the hell out of this ride.
Number 4.
Next up, we have A Star is Born. Yes, you remember a second ago when I said other movies might have hit me on a more emotional level? This was that movie. Man, oh man, this movie was really good. Bradley Cooper is great in it. Lady Gaga's great in it. It's a great movie about a building relationship. It's a great movie about a building career. It's a great movie about the fall of a career. It's a great movie about not losing yourself to the Hollywood monster. It's a fucking real thing. I lived there for a year. It is. It's so easy to lose yourself. You gotta dip your toe in and fucking bail. And by the end, I was crying. Not ashamed to admit it.
Number 3.
Next is A Quiet Place. When you see the trailers to A Quiet Place, you're interested. And that's all you can go into this movie with is curiosity, because dialogue, not a big part of the trailer. Not a big part of the movie, because it makes you stop and think. You never stop and think how difficult it is to live and survive and not make noise. The inability to make noise, that really hamstrings you on your survival. I mean, I'm loud as shit. I'd have been in the first wave of deaths. Gone. The good news is, I guess, I don't have to worry about living in a world like this. But you can tell, just breathing in the theater, a lot of the audience is just holding their breath for most of the time, afraid to make any peep, any noise. It was the most peaceful cinematic watch I ever had with the general audience. Anyone who made a peep, the mob was gonna riot. I have a soft spot for horror, thrillers, interesting and unique concepts. John Krasinski crushed it in the acting department and the directing department. Can't wait to see what he does next.
Number 2.
Next up, Won't You Be My Neighbor? When I saw this movie, I was like, that's gonna be number 1, right? It's just such a damn feel-good movie in a world with such vitriol, such ire. It's just the best word I can describe the internet space, the world in general. Everywhere you look, people are fighting, whether it's like movies. Are you a DC fan or a Marvel fan? Pick a side! Or politics, even movies that used to be escapism, they're not escapism. Escapism less and less these days anyway. I feel like Won't You Be My Neighbor was just a pure sense of joy. I needed this movie. It's like when Captain America was talking to Phil Coulson in the Avengers and he said something about his suit being very old-fashioned. Coulson was like, I think people could use a little bit of old-fashioned. That's what this movie was. It was that concept brought to the big screen. My life goal is to be like that dude. I never will be. I'm way too crass. I'm way too much of a dick. Doesn't mean I can't admire, and this movie, it gave me hope for humanity.
Number 1.
Here we are, number 1, my number 1 pick. This is the movie that I walked out of going, fuck yeah. This was the movie of the summer for me. This might piss some people off. I have no idea. But Mission Impossible Fallout, that was a great time at the movies. It was just what I was looking for. We had a couple of great movies this summer. But we had a lot of movies that just fell short. By the end of the year, I felt like I was gonna make a top 7 list. But Mission Impossible Fallout, slick, cool, action-packed. The action sequences were amazing. Mission Impossible is like the cooler version of James Bond right now. Really, if you look at the Bond movies, they're like awesome, horrible, awesome, But Mission Impossible, man, they're crushing it. And Tom Cruise has still got it? How? Dude's over 50. It's crazy. Like Russell Crowe in that Mummy movie's all like, you're a young man. No, he's not. But that's what makes him so great. Most people in Tom Cruise's situation would have retired by now, not him. And as long as he keeps making these Mission Impossible movies so kick-ass, I really hope he doesn't retire anytime soon. And this movie was this great, and I feel like it kind of gets eclipsed by the whole like, oh, Thanos did this. What's the DCEU even doing now? Is it even the DCEU? Now they're making standalone DC movies? Oh shit, Avengers Endgame. When's that trailer coming out? And I love talking about it all, but Mission Impossible Fallout gave me that feeling without the franchise. I mean, it's a franchise, but it's not a comic book movie franchise. Mission Impossible Fallout comes in, it's like, hey, I'm fucking kick-ass too. Don't count me out. And it totally held its own against the comic book movie titans of industry. And that's why in 2018, it's my favorite movie of the year. All right, so as the year comes to an end, that's my list. Those are my top 10 favorite movies of 2018. If you didn't sense the sarcasm at the beginning, even after I addressed it with sarcasm, not the technically perfect movies, but the ones that just hit me. They hit me where I live, and I love that about these movies. The next video? Oh yes, it's coming. The horror. The abominations. The dog shit. A lot of movies were absolute ass this year, so I can't wait to give you my list of the top 10 worst movies of 2018. Until then, your top 10 favorite movies of 2018. What are they? Whatever they are, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.